Number after Rebirth, I had my half-sister marry the wife cursed, short-lived Regent. I was born with a blood-colored red spider lily mark between my eyebrows. Legend has it that it can resolve calamities for those around me and protect the state, ensuring its prosperity. In my last life, the current emperor, with half the empire as a betrothal gift, betrothed me to the wife cursed, short-lived, severely injured and comatose Regent, Xiao Muhan. The day after our wedding, he miraculously woke up and consummated the marriage with me. I thought he would be grateful, but who knew that when I was about to go into labor with fraternal twins, Xiao Muhan sent away all the servant girls and midwives. Covered in blood, I crawled to his feet and begged him desperately, but he took a knife and brutally carved out the red spider lily mark from between my eyebrows. What disaster-averting red spider lily? It is clearly just about clinging to the powerful and influential, coveting wealth and status. That is all. Qingyu bears the peony and phoenix tattoo, yet never publicizes it. But you, a mere spider lily, are so ostentatious the whole city knows. Do you know you ruined this king's plan to feign unconsciousness, causing Qingyu to die a tragic death at the hands of bandits? Don't you claim to be able to turn misfortune into good fortune? Then give birth to the child yourself. All the fetuses in my womb died prematurely, and I bled to death. When I opened my eyes again, I was suddenly back on the day my marriage was decreed. I hardened my heart and destroyed the spider lily mark between my eyebrows. What spider lily that turns misfortune into good fortune? It is just a baseless rumor, that is all. Number Chapter 2. Hearing this, Her Majesty the Empress's eyes instantly reddened. How could this be? The state preceptor's words have never been wrong. The flower mark between your eyebrows is unlike any other. You must be the one who can save Muhan. Do I have to kneel and beg you? Xiao Muhan is her only son, and what is more, the Prince Regent who holds great military power in the court. In my past life, I willingly sacrificed myself to save him. I fed him my heart's blood for a full 49 days before he could recover. But the first thing he did after he recovered was to send away the midwives while I was in labor, cut me open, and let me bleed to death. Snapping back to the present, I straightened up and said coldly, "The state preceptor's words are not necessarily trustworthy." The moment I finished speaking, Xiao Muhan's angry voice came from a distance. "Mother Empress, she is just a swindling demoness, that is all." I turned to look and saw him sitting in a wheelchair, the front of his robe stained with blood. I knew with just one look that he didn't have much time left. I looked at him, a bit surprised. Clearly, in my past life, he hadn't come. Could it be that he was reborn too? Before I could speak, he stared fixedly at me and said coldly, "Qingyu bears the peony and phoenix pattern. She is the one who can save me. Otherwise, how could I have woken up, Mother Empress? You mustn't be deceived by her." Looking at the smug Shen Qingyu behind him, I was pretty much certain of my suspicion. But that so-called peony and phoenix pattern was just something Shen Qingyu fabricated herself out of jealousy for my spider lily mark. Xiao Muhan suffered severe internal injuries. Without me, he can only wait to die. The Empress's eyes lit up, and she looked eagerly at Shen Qingyu. Shen Qingyu gave a graceful curtsy, her words filled with disdain for me. "His Highness the Prince Regent is just suffering from a minor ailment. I can make him recover completely with just a few simple tricks. And I am not like you, sister, trying to use this as a chance to marry into the royal family and demand repayment for a favor." Xiao Muhan shot me a disdainful glance. "Empress Mother, a bewitching woman like this who spouts such nonsense should be beaten out with clubs." I looked at him with disgust. "This humble girl has never claimed to have any special skills. Your Highness, the Prince Regent, has misunderstood." Xiao Muhan was stunned for a moment. "Yun Chulan, what tricks are you playing?" The Empress looked at his pale and weak face, and couldn't help but try to persuade. "Muhan, Chulan is the one designated by the Imperial Preceptor. It is a matter of life and death, so why don't you just trust her this once? After all, the rumors are also widespread." Before she could finish her words, she was interrupted by Xiao Muhan. "Mother Empress, your son only trusts Qingyu." Just as he turned to leave, he suddenly stopped. Traces of blood oozed from the corners of his pale mouth, but his eyes were filled with anger and gloom. "Once Qingyu cures this king will surely marry her with a 10 li red dowry procession. As for you, you disastrous demoness, who brings calamity to the country and its people. Just wait for your punishment. This king will not be bewitched by you again." He tightly gripped Shen Qingyu's hand, as if holding the most precious treasure in the world. But in my last life, he also cried his eyes out, begging me not to harm myself when I carved out my heart to get the medicine. After exiting the palace gates, I looked up and saw the Ziwei star sinking in the west. Looks like Xiao Muhan doesn't have much time left, but in this life, since he wants to give his life to Shen Qingyu, why should I stop him? Chapter 3. Not long after leaving the imperial palace, my path was blocked by a group of people. They came on aggressively, and among them were many common folk who had once begged me to save their lives. "Liar. What spider lily seal? It is all fake. My son just caught a common cold. What gives you the right to say he doesn't have long to live? She even fed my grandson her heart's blood. Who knows if she cast some evil spell? Vicious woman who murders for money." I don't know who shouted, "Enforce justice on behalf of heaven," and everyone swarmed forward. They held down my shoulders, forced me to kneel on the ground, and viciously slapped my face. Simone was also desperately clawing at the spider lily mark between my eyebrows, and the pain was tearing me apart. I struggled to raise my head to look at their crazed expressions, seeing no trace of the tearful faces they had when they begged me before. For them to have found their way to the palace gates, someone must have been fanning the flames. I struggled desperately, and only then did I catch a glimpse of a pale yellow figure in the crowd. It was precisely my younger half-sister, Shen Qingyu. She was carefully wiping the blood from the corner of Xiao Muhan's mouth, and when she looked at me, she deliberately revealed the gold bracelet on her wrist. That was an heirloom from Xiao Muhan's grandmother, left for his future wife. In my past life, he had also put it on me with great care. Now he looked at my wretched state with disgust. "It is you." Shen Qingyu couldn't suppress the smile on her lips. "Little sister, when you faked my phoenix pattern, you should have known this day would come." The resentment from my past and present lives surged into my heart all at once, and I gritted my teeth and forced myself to get up. "A peony phoenix pattern, Xiao Muhan. Why don't you touch the pattern between her brows and see if it is painted on? If you believe her, I guarantee, within 3 days, you will definitely die." The moment I finished speaking, Xiao Muhan's expression changed. Shen Qingyu gritted her teeth and glared at me, took 2 steps forward, and slapped me hard across the face. "Are you all dead? Just standing there watching her curse His Highness. Strip this number, naked and hang her on the city gate tower. Let's see how she can still be so rampant." That group of people instantly surrounded me, and countless hands tore at my lapels. I desperately curled my body up, and in an instant, I was left in nothing but my thin inner garments. My delicate figure was exposed before everyone, and someone immediately spoke with a lewd smile. "The red spider lily mark. I hear that whoever marries her can become the emperor. I wonder if possessing her can also make one rich overnight." Seeing them step forward, rubbing their hands together, I subconsciously looked towards Xiao Muhan. He pressed his lips together, his gaze complex. But before he could speak, Shen Qingyu spoke first. "What are you standing there dazed for? Continue." I pulled the golden hairpin from my hair and aimed it at the crowd, wanting to fight to the death, but the person rushing towards me suddenly widened their eyes, then fell to the ground with a thud, a golden blade in their back so deep the bone was visible. The next moment, I only heard someone give a loud shout. "This king would like to see who dares to touch her." Chapter 4. I lifted my eyes, and a nearly bewitching face came into view. He wanted to help me up, but his face was pale, and it seemed he couldn't muster any strength. The young servant beside him knelt down with a thud, his face full of tears. "Miss, I beg you, please save my His Highness. He has been poisoned." "His Highness, he is Xiao Jingyuan. I remember he is already deeply poisoned by now, and will vomit blood and die in less than 4 hours. Seeing I was silent, that young servant started to kowtow to me. "His Highness is unwilling to take another's beloved, but this servant really can't bear to see him. That is enough. Don't say any more." Xiao Jingyuan pressed his clenched fist to his lips. I clearly saw blood seeping from between his fingers. Seeing this, Shen Qingyu at the side let out an exaggerated, "Ah, to think someone actually believes she can bring the dead back to life?" Xiao Muhan's expression was complex, with a barely there sneer at the corner of his mouth. Imperial brother, has your illness muddled you? The one who truly bears the phoenix mark is Qingyu. Yuan Shulan is just a pretentious fraud. Yun Shulan, you sure have your ways to even seduce my imperial brother who doesn't dally with women. Xiao Jingyuan ignored him, turning sideways to shield me behind him. Young lady, whether you are willing to save me or not is entirely up to you. This prince will absolutely not force you. After he said that, I nonetheless saw the disappointment revealed in the depths of his eyes. I gathered my lapels and swept a glance at the dumbfounded commoners around us. I can't let Xiao Muhan ruin my reputation. I must clear my name. I turned around and gave a slight smirk. Your Highness, the Prince Regent, do you dare to make a bet with me? Let's bet on who between me and Shen Qingyu can save a life. I'll wager everything I have. Do you dare to bet? Shen Qingyu looked me up and down amusingly. Older sister, what do you have to wager? Don't tell me you are betting your status as the legitimate daughter of the minister's manor. Forgot to tell you. A few days ago, father already demoted your mother from a wife to a concubine, so now you are nothing but a lowly maid that I can trample on as I please. Xiao Muhan dotingly pinched Shen Qingyu's nose. Yun Shulan, stop pretending. After your rebirth, you admitted in front of Father Emperor that the flower mark was fake. Wasn't that just because you were worried your lie would be exposed? You knew that only Shen Qingyu could cure this prince. That is why you refused the imperial marriage bestowal. Isn't that right? Heh. So he knew I was reborn too. The pain of being disemboweled in my past life, the pain of being deceived, was so unworthy of mention in his eyes. I raised my eyes, staring fixedly at him. Then let's bet. If I lose, I am willing to admit I am a demonic woman number, and die. But if you lose, how about you request your own deposition and be demoted to a commoner? Xiao Muhan's expression stiffened. Insolent. His chest heaved violently with anger. A worthless life like yours, and you think you are worthy. Just as I was about to speak again, Xiao Jingyuan gently took my hand, his well-defined side profile looking especially soft under the moonlight. This prince still has 100,000 elite troops, and if she loses, this prince will hand them over. Confused, I tried to stop him. You don't have to. Xiao Jingyuan gave me a faint smile. This prince trusts you, Miss Yun. You can definitely keep this prince safe and sound. Hearing this, Xiao Muhan snorted coldly at me. Then let's bet. What wouldn't this prince dare? This wager wasn't just for the future position of crown prince, but a matter of life and death. A series of sharp gasps was heard from the surroundings. Back at Xiao Jingyuan's princely manor, he and Xiao Muhan were lying on the bed together. But the moment I opened the front of his, not only was his body covered in all kinds of mottled, crisscrossing scars that were continuously oozing blood, a faint wisp of black energy also lingered over the area of his heart. As a member of the royal family, how could he be so seriously injured? Just as I was pondering, Shen Qingyu at my side got so scared she threw herself into Xiao Muhan's arms and said with deliberate harshness, "With so many scars, he is probably done for." I ignored Shen Qingyu's taunt, looked at Xiao Jingyuan and said gently, "The situation is a bit tricky. Are you willing to trust me?" Xiao Jingyuan suddenly raised his hand and held my cheeks, his eyes full of conviction. "Chulan, life and death are a matter of fate. This king trusts you. No matter the outcome, this king will not blame you." From the side, Xiao Muhan's gaze fell on my and Xiao Jingyuan's clasped hands. He gritted his teeth in anger, then turned to grab Shen Qingyu's hand, looked at me, and deliberately said, "Qingyu, this prince has everything ready. Once you cure this prince, we will marry immediately. As for whether others live or die, it has nothing to do with us." Shen Qingyu nodded, gave Xiao Muhan Mafazan, making him fall into a deep sleep. "Muhan, when you wake up, you'll be all better." Shen Qingyu saw Xiao Muhan was unconscious and immediately turned her head over. "Yun Shulan, do you really think you bear the phoenix's destiny?" Luckily, Muhan didn't believe you. Otherwise, who knows what might have happened. "I am telling you, I am the one and only Regent Princess Consort. When I cure him, I'll make sure you die a horrible death." I ignored her, turned around and undid my lapel, revealing the jade pendant I've held in my mouth since birth. That jade pendant can communicate with spirits, allowing me to travel the 3 realms and summon the souls of the dying. I closed my eyes, continuously searching for Xiao Jingyuan's scattered soul, muttering under my breath, cannot pass on, soul return. But all I could see was pitch blackness, as if I had fallen into endless darkness. Suddenly a huge blood-red pupil appeared before my eyes. I was so scared I stumbled back 2 steps and fell to the ground. The next second, I saw fresh blood start to flow continuously from the corners of Xiao Jingyuan's mouth, and his breath also grew weaker and weaker. Number chapter 5. But how could this be? Impossible. My heart skipped a beat, and I looked down at the jade pendant in my hand. It had already cracked into 2 halves. This isn't my jade pendant. I remembered back at the palace gate, when those commoners who were summoned started beating me up. It must have been Xiao Muhan who switched my jade pendant. He is truly ridiculous. He doesn't believe my spider lily seal, yet he still does such a despicable thing. Seeing my panicked expression, Shen Qingyu's lips curved into a smug smile. You probably don't know yet, older sister. I had someone invite His Majesty and Her Highness over. If you can't save the prince today, I am afraid the only thing awaiting you is being torn apart by 5 horses. As soon as her voice fell, His Majesty's voice indeed came from outside the door. The demoness who can't save my son will be executed on the spot as soon as she comes out. Overwhelming hatred surged within my heart. Without thinking any further, I pulled out the hairpin from my hair and fiercely pierced my chest. No one knew. What could truly save people was my heart's blood. In my past life, I sustained Xiao Muhan with my heart's blood for 49 days, and only then did he make a full recovery. Blood dripped down my finger onto Xiao Jingyuan's bloodless face. In an instant, his breathing became ragged, and more fresh blood gushed from his mouth, until it stained his entire chest red. His already deathly pale face became like number. In just half a cup of tea's time, he will wake up after spitting out all the stagnant blood in his body. I wiped my sweat, and was just about to go out to report to His Majesty, but Shen Qingyu beat me to it, shrieking harshly, Yun Chulan, you demoness, you've actually killed the Second Highness. Your Majesty, Your Highness, come quick and look, the Second Highness is dying. I frowned and broke free from her hand, but before I could speak, His Majesty had already kicked the door open and stormed in. Seeing the blood-covered Xiao Jingyuan, he was instantly filled with rage. He sent a flying kick to my lower abdomen, and in that instant, I felt as if all my internal organs had shifted out of place. Seeing this, Shen Qingyu became even more excited. Your Majesty, I, your subject, saw it with my own eyes. It was her who killed His Highness. This demoness must be burned to death, otherwise all of us will suffer. I let out a cold laugh. I advise you had better not make any rash moves. Otherwise, when Xiao Jingyuan wakes up, you'll definitely meet a terrible end. Wake up, Shen Qingyu blurted out. He lost so much blood, he is definitely dead. Although His Majesty wasn't as fond of Xiao Jingyuan as he was of Xiao Muhan, he was, after all, his son. He glanced at Xiao Jingyuan lying in a pool of blood and immediately ordered, take this demoness out, build a fire, and burn her to death. The guards received the order and immediately tied me on top of a haystack. Xiao Jingyuan's servant boy wanted to plead for him, but was tied up by the guards along with him. I glanced into the room and said lightly, Your Majesty, the one who is going to die now isn't Xiao Jingyuan. It is Xiao Muhan. I am afraid he won't make it through tonight. Everyone gasped, and His Majesty also furrowed his brows. Only Shen Qingyu gritted her teeth, snatched the torch from the guard's hand, and said furiously, still cursing His Highness the Prince Regent when you are at death's door. Your sin is unforgivable. Since you like Xiao Jingyuan so much, then go die with him. She raised the torch high, just about to light the pile of firewood. Just then, a clear cough suddenly came from inside the room. The next moment, Xiao Jingyuan walked out slowly, clutching his chest. Although he was covered in blood, his cheeks were already rosy as before, and his voice was deep and powerful, not at all like someone suffering from a serious illness. Father Emperor, Mother Empress, your son is fine now, but the Prince Regent, it seems he has stopped breathing. Number chapter 6. Seeing Xiao Jingyuan walk out of the room unharmed, his complexion even rosy, Shen Qingyu, who was arrogant and domineering just a moment ago, instantly paled, staggering backward as if she had seen a ghost, muttering to herself, This is impossible. He was clearly already dead. Sorcery. This must be sorcery. Shen Qingyu pointed at me with a crazed expression, her face ghastly pale with fear. It is you, Yun Chulan. You used wicked arts to kill the Prince Regent, and then staged a fake death to deceive His Majesty. She fell to her knees at the Emperor's feet, crying her eyes out. Your Majesty, please see the truth. His Highness, the Prince Regent, was perfectly fine yesterday. It was all this woman's doing. Her rebirth was to get revenge on us. She has long hated the Prince Regent. Enough. The Emperor kicked her away. Still spouting nonsense at a time like this. Jingyuan is standing right here, alive and well, while Muhan's fate hangs in the balance. Do we still need to say what is true and what is false? Just then, Xiao Muhan's faint groan suddenly came from inside the room. The Empress, as if grasping at the last straw, rushed back into the room like a madwoman. Muhan, my Muhan. Xiao Muhan was lying in a pool of blood, his face ashen and dark like a ghost's. He struggled to move his eyes. His gaze first landed on the radiant Xiao Jingyuan, then on me who was being protected behind Xiao Jingyuan, and finally settled on Shen Qingyu's deathly pale face. Why do I feel like my whole body is being torn apart? Shen Qingyu trembled all over and subconsciously took half a step back. Qingyu, save me. Xiao Muhan's voice was faint, as if he would breathe his last at any moment. You said, you have the phoenix tattoo. You said you would save me. I can save you. Shen Qingyu suddenly screamed and rummaged through the medicine box, her fingers trembling so much she couldn't even hold a bottle. It is her. It was Yun Chulan who switched my medicine. She knew you would wake up and deliberately harmed you. Xiao Jingyuan walked slowly to the bedside, looking down at Xiao Muhan from a commanding position. Your Highness, the Prince Regent, at this point, are you still going to deceive yourself? This king is now alive and well. My body has recovered as before, but you are on the verge of death. Who exactly has the phoenix tattoo? Can you still not tell? Xiao Muhan's Adam's apple bobbed violently, and he suddenly sprayed a mouthful of black blood onto Shen Qingyu's face. The blood drops splattered on the pattern she had meticulously drawn, and she subconsciously wiped it with her hand, but wiped off the pattern along with it. Everyone present gasped in shock. The Empress looked at the wiped-off floral pattern and immediately flew into a rage, cursing, Shen Qingyu, you vicious woman. Why did you fake the peony and phoenix pattern? Shen Qingyu subconsciously shook her head. Your Majesty, how can this be? Look at the floral pattern between my brows. How could mine be fake? It must be that Yun Chulan, that numbers. She is the one who framed me. She is the one spouting nonsense. I didn't say anything, just picked up the bronze mirror and handed it to her. When Shen Qingyu saw herself in the mirror, she was instantly so scared she collapsed to the ground. Shen Qingyu's fingernails dug deep into her palm, and beads of blood oozed out from between her fingers. Yet she was completely unaware. She pointed at me and screamed. It is her. She must have used a blinding spell. She is jealous that I have the phoenix pattern. Jealous that His Highness, the Prince Regent, dotes on me. So she deliberately got rid of my pattern. The Empress's eyes were bloodshot. The fury in her gaze looked as if she wanted to rip Shen Qingyu in half on the spot. Guards, drag this vicious woman away. Use the dullest knife and slice her flesh off piece by piece. Let her taste the pain Muhan suffered. Shen Qingyu was scared out of her wits. She scrambled wretchedly like a dog to Xiao Muhan's bedside, tightly clutching his blood-stained sleeve, her eyes wide with terror, screaming horror. Muhan, save me! You have to save me! Her voice was shrill, the exquisite makeup on her face long since mottled and ruined. We were reborn together. Have you forgotten in our last life, when you gouged out her equinox flower, you said the person you loved most was me. You said you would make me your princess consort. You can't go back on your word. She desperately shook Xiao Muhan, trying to awaken the last shred of affection in him. I know I was wrong. I shouldn't have lied to you, but I truly love you. I love you 1,000, 10,000 times more than that venomous woman Yun Chulan. Quick, tell them that you don't want me to die. Your Highness, don't you love me anymore? I didn't mean to lie to you. How could I have known you would really? Before she could finish her sentence, Xiao Muhan pulled out the hairpin from her hair and viciously gouged at the spot between her eyebrows. Although she dodged in time, It still carved a long scar on her face. Fresh blood stained her entire face, and Shen Qingyu's expression became even more frenzied. "Your Highness, what are you doing?" Xiao Muhan's hand was trembling violently, the tip of the golden hairpin still dripping with blood. He used all his strength, staring at the winding trail of blood on Shen Qingyu's face. "Don't you like to imitate Chulan? Does this look like her equinox flower?" Chapter 7. Beads of blood on Shen Qingyu's face trickled down the scar, mixing with her tears to form a droplet of blood on her chin, which splattered onto Xiao Muhan's blood-stained lapel. She clutched half of her face, her eyes venomous. "Xiao Muhan, you are insane. Me. Imitate her. Do I need to imitate this cheap bitch? Have you forgotten who it was in our past life that personally gouged out her red spider lily mark by treating me like this now? Do you think you can win her forgiveness?" Hearing this, Xiao Muhan turned his head to look at me, his expression complicated. Just then, the Empress suddenly turned around, her knees slamming heavily onto the ground with a dull thud. "Chulan, I am begging you." Her voice trembled uncontrollably. "For the sake of him once being the man you loved, please save him. As long as you are willing to save him, this palace will give you anything, the power of the minister's manor, the treasures of the imperial family, even if it means this palace must kowtow to you." "Your Majesty," I interrupted her, my voice calm. "My heart's blood for today is already used up. Even if you kill me and cut out my heart, there is no more heart's blood to give him." He meeting the Empress's sorrowful gaze, I ultimately couldn't bring myself to say the rest of my words. The Empress's face instantly turned as white as a sheet. She opened her mouth, but couldn't utter a single word. His gaze turned to Xiao Muhan on the bed, his face dark and pale. He wasn't dead yet. His eyelids trembled with difficulty, and a tear actually rolled down slowly. "Mother Empress, I have something to say to Chulan, I beg you. Let me be alone with her for a while, is that okay?" The Empress's lips quivered a few times, but in the end, she was still stung by the plea in Xiao Muhan's eyes, and she backed out, covering her mouth. The room door closed with a creak, shutting out all the clamor outside, leaving only the thick smell of blood and his faint gasps. Xiao Muhan struggled to turn his head. His face was a ghastly dark color, like a ghost's. His lips were deathly pale from blood loss. Only his eyes still held a trace of clarity. "Chulan." His voice was faint, as if he wouldn't be able to say another word if I interrupted. "Does it hurt?" I raised an eyebrow, not understanding what he was referring to. "Are you referring to the pain when I was beaten by the common people? Or the pain when His Majesty kicked me in the lower abdomen? Or perhaps the heart-gouging, bone-carving pain from my past life, when he gouged out my red spider lily, the scar between your eyebrows?" He seemed to notice my confusion. His eyeballs turned with difficulty, landing on the spot between my eyebrows. "The cut I made, it must have been very painful." I suddenly laughed, my laughter sounding particularly abrupt in the silent room. "Xiao Muhan, you are saying all this now. Are you trying to make me pity you? Or are you trying to tell me you feel pain too?" His Adam's apple bobbed, a mouthful of black blood welled up to the corner of his mouth, and he struggled to swallow it back down. "I know it is too late. It was too late from the moment you sent the midwife away and watched me hemorrhage. It was too late from the moment you raised the knife and carved out my spider lily. From the moment you told me to give birth by myself, it was completely too late." I walked to the bedside step by step, looking down on him. "Do you think a single does it hurt can offset the pain that my child and I have endured?" Bloody tears seeped from the corners of his eyes. He was a complete mess at this moment. Back then, I had my mind clouded by lard. I thought Qingyu was right. I thought you were really just greedy for wealth and status. You didn't have your mind clouded by lard. You are just stupid. I interrupted him, my tone calm and without a single ripple. "Fooled and spun in circles by a woman with painted-on fake patterns, trampling to death the person who genuinely cared for you. Xiao Muhan, your life is truly laughable." He coughed violently. My child, my child." His voice choked. "I am sorry to him, and even more sorry to you. Say no more." I took a step back. "Your apology, I find it dirty. Your regret, I don't need it. I only beg you." He suddenly grabbed my wrist. I never knew the hand of a dying person could have such strength. If there is a next life, if there is a next life, there is no next life. I forcefully shook off his hand. His arm slammed heavily onto the bedboard, making a dull thud. Xiao Muhan, I won't give you any more chances to hurt me, not even in reincarnation. He stared at me blankly, the light in his eyes dying out bit by bit. That is true. You should have a new life, one without me, a clean life. His voice grew fainter and fainter. His vision began to blur, finally settling on the flower mark between my brows. This is fine too. With that, his head lolled to one side. I stood rooted to the spot, looking at his thoroughly cold body. In my heart, there was no joy, nor sadness, only a desolate calm. It was like finally waking up from a long and disgusting nightmare. I turned and pulled open the door. The Empress lunged forward, trying to rush in, but I stopped her with a raised hand. He is gone. Number Chapter 8. The Empress's sobs erupted instantly. If it weren't for the palace maids supporting her, she couldn't even stand steady right now. The Emperor stood not far away, looking at me with a complicated expression, and in the end, just gave a tired wave of his hand. Xiao Jingyuan walked forward and gently held my icy cold hand. It is all over. As soon as Xiao Jingyuan finished speaking, the Empress's heart-wrenching cries came from inside the room. She threw herself onto Xiao Muhan's body, almost screaming herself hoarse. Muhan, my Muhan, how could you leave your mother behind and go? She whipped her head around, her bloodshot eyes glaring fixedly at Shen Qingyu. It is you, it was you, you venomous woman who killed my son. You said you could save him. Shen Qingyu was scared witless by the Empress's appearance. She scrambled and crawled to kneel before His Majesty. Perhaps even now she never thought that Xiao Muhan would actually die. It wasn't me, it really wasn't me, it was Yun Chulan. She knew long ago that the Prince Regent would wake up and deliberately switched my medicine. She came back through Rebirth just to get revenge. I was just used by her, used. The Empress glared over, gritting her teeth. You took my son's trust, wore a fake pattern to trick him and take his life, and now you dare say you were used. She lunged over to tear at Shen Qingyu, her fingernails digging deep into the scars on her face, making Shen Qingyu let out a scream like a pig being slaughtered. I want you to pay for Muhan with your life. I want you to be buried with my son, the Emperor roared. Enough. He pointed at Shen Qingyu, his voice as cold as if it had been quenched in ice. Drag this venomous woman down, and execute her by death by 1,000 cuts. Expose her corpse for 3 days, and let the whole world see the fate of deceiving the Emperor and plotting against the prince. Shen Qingyu was being dragged out by the guards, her voice shrill and desperate. Yun Chulan, this is all you're doing. I won't let you go, not even as a ghost. You think Xiao Jingyuan truly likes you. They're only after your phoenix destiny. You are even more pathetic than me. Her screams grew more and more distant, and were finally cut off by the heavy vermilion gates of the prince's mansion. In the room, only the Empress's suppressed sobs and His Majesty's helpless sighs remained. I watched the back of the Empress as she lay on Xiao Muhan's body, crying bitterly, and suddenly remembered that in my past life, she was also like this, holding my cold body and crying until she fainted. At that time, she was crying because her son had lost his auspicious sign, and not for my life that was unjustly lost. Chulan. Xiao Jingyuan gently took my ice-cold hand. His palm was warm, his voice soft. Let's go. I nodded. 3 days later at noon, the imperial prison was filled with a damp, musty smell. Carrying a food box, I stood outside the cell door, looking at the haggard-looking Shen Qingyu behind the iron bars. She, who was once dazzlingly beautiful, now had her hair bun in a mess, her face covered in bruises from being beaten by the jailers, and her prison uniform stained with filth, having long since lost any trace of her former pride and smugness. What did you come here for, to laugh at me? Shen Qingyu's voice was hoarse, and the look she gave me was full of resentment and anger. I placed the food box on the ground and took out a bowl of steaming hot lotus seed soup. Where is Yar? She was stunned at first, then her face turned deathly pale. Her voice trembled uncontrollably, and her fingertips dug tightly into the iron bars. She was like a cat whose tail got stepped on. What are you talking about? I am Shen Qingyu, the legitimate daughter of the minister's mansion, Shen Qingyu. I took out from my sleeve that half-piece of jade pendant engraved with the character Yu. The real Yuer fell into the water when she was 3, and has a crescent-shaped scar on her lower back. It was from being scratched by a broken piece of porcelain by the pond. She is most afraid of thunder, and whenever there is a rainy night, she has to hug the lotus pillow her mother embroidered for her to be able to fall asleep. She also likes to eat lotus seed soup, but always finds it too sweet, and will only drink it after adding 3 spoonfuls of water. With every sentence I said, the color drained a little more from Shen Qingyu's face, until in the end her lips were trembling, and she couldn't even speak a complete sentence. You, how do you know? I didn't answer her, but just kept talking to myself. She said the new maid in the mansion, Queer, always liked to imitate her, drawing her eyebrows the same way, wearing the same kind of clothes. But she thought you were pitiful, and gave you half of the pearl powder her mother left her. She even lent you the gold bracelet her father awarded her to wear. Shen Qingyu suddenly let out a piercing shriek and threw herself against the iron bars, shaking them frantically. Shut up, you shut up. You are the one who killed her, right? There are some things that I only figured out after my rebirth and return. Why Shen Qingyu, who had always detested the Prince Regent, would suddenly become his white moonlight. Why the always cautious Shen Qingyu would suddenly make the fake flower pattern on her forehead the talk of the town. The only truth could be that the Shen Qingyu before me was not my sister. You don't understand. You don't understand anything. She suddenly started laughing hysterically. I just want to live a little longer. What is wrong with wanting glory and wealth? That sister of yours is just a weak and useless coward. I told her to imitate you, but she said something about you being her legitimate older sister, that she wouldn't do anything to harm you. The Shen Qingyu before me suddenly started laughing. Don't you think she is crazy? She, an unfavored daughter of a concubine, actually looks out for you in every way. Number, Chapter 9. Shen Qingyu's expression was crazed, and her laughter was even more piercing, enough to make one's skin crawl. She even secretly sent you medicine, you know. That time you had a rash. The imperial physician said you needed a soup boiled with ginseng rootlets. It was her who secretly shaved the rootlets off the wild mountain ginseng our father had rewarded her with, and stuffed them onto your windowsill overnight. She always said the spider lily between older sister's brows is an auspicious sign and should be well protected. Isn't that ridiculous? Shen Qingyu suddenly moved closer to the iron bars, the madness in her eyes almost overflowing. She had barely even met Xiao Muhan a few times, yet in the bandit's den, she begged me not to harm the Prince Regent, saying he is the god of war of the Zhou dynasty and must not die. See, she is just that hopelessly stupid. My fingertips dug deep into my palm, so in my past life when I had the rash, that unsigned packet of ginseng rootlets on the windowsill was from her, and this venomous woman in front of me, using the name Shen Qingyu, is stepping on her bones, drinking her blood, and still mocking her kindness. She wasn't stupid. I slowly opened my mouth, my voice calm. She was benevolent. The kind of benevolence that a thing like you, who steals lives and murders people, will never learn. You think you've won? I looked at the hideous scar on her face and let out a sneer. You stole her name, but you can't steal her character. You got Xiao Muhan's guilt, but you couldn't save his life. You schemed with all your might to crush me, but in the end, you nailed yourself to the pillar of shame. Shen Qingyu's laughter came to an abrupt stop. She stared deadly at me, as if she couldn't wait to pounce on me and bite me. So what? She is dead. I lived a spectacular life in her place. It is just that I didn't know that what could bring someone back from the dead was your blood. Otherwise, I would have already had you seized, hung upside down, and your blood slowly drained dry. I looked at her face, twisted with venomous hatred, and just found her laughably pathetic. Even if you know, so what? You will never be the real Yer, and the only thing that awaits you is death by 1,000 cuts. Oh right, it is time I called you by your real name, Kier, right? Don't worry, I've already had Xiao Jingyuan report to His Majesty to give the real Yer a grand burial. As for you, you'll just bear your original name, be wrapped in a straw mat, and thrown into the mass grave. Hearing these words, it was as if her soul had been ripped out, and she collapsed on the ground. Her eyes were wide open, muttering to herself, unable to form a complete sentence for a long time. Impossible! She suddenly shrieked, completely crazed. I am Shen Qingyu, I am the Regent's consort. I am the future Wang Fei. You can't do this to me, Yun Chulan. You number. I won't let you go even as a ghost. Her curses grew weaker and weaker, eventually turning into desperate whimpers. The jailer came forward and roughly dragged her up. As she passed by me, she suddenly used all her strength to break free and lunged toward me. I am going to kill you. However, before she could get close, she was firmly pinned down by the jailer, and her mouth was gagged. The hour of execution had come. The only ending awaiting her was death. When I walked out of the celestial prison, Xiao Jingyuan had already been waiting for a long time. It is all over. He came up to me, naturally taking the empty food box from my hand, his fingertips inadvertently brushing against the back of my hand, carrying a reassuring warmth. I nodded, my throat feeling a bit tight, unable to speak. The metallic smell from the celestial prison seemed to still linger at the tip of my nose, and Queer's final shriek still echoed in my ears. But the sunlight falling on me was so warm it made my heart tremble, giving me the strange illusion that a lifetime had passed. His Majesty has issued a decree to build a cenotaph for the real Yuer. Xiao Jingyuan slowed his pace, walking shoulder to shoulder with me. After some time, we'll go see her again. Okay, I answered softly, my eyes growing a little hot. That girl who always silently thought of others can finally be at peace. After walking down the long palace path, Xiao Jingyuan suddenly stopped and turned to look at me. Chu Lan, he paused, as if choosing his words. About what happened in the past, you were wronged. I was stunned for a moment, then laughed in spite of myself. Wronged. Of course I was. The pain of being betrayed, the pain of having the spider lily gouged out, the pain of losing my child, each and every one of these had once been a heart-gouging, bone-carving torment. But now, looking at the person before me who has always believed in me and protected me, those pains seem to become not so unbearable. It is all in the past. I raised my hand and gently stroked my forehead. That red spider lily is still there. The person I cherish is still here. What more could I ask for? Xiao Jingyuan's gaze fell on the spot between my eyebrows, the look in his eyes complex, containing heartache, compassion, and a barely perceptible trace of gentleness. From now on, I'll be here. His voice was very soft, yet it carried an unquestionable determination. I won't let anyone hurt you again. I looked at him, and suddenly felt that even without the protection of the Licorice Radiata seal, I could live on just fine, because by my side there was a person who was willing to be my armor.